want to bring in CNN national correspondent Nick Watt. He's joining us right now from Orem in Utah, and CNN senior justice correspondent Evan Perez, who's monitoring this investigation for us. Nick, let me start with you. What's the latest out there in Utah that we have learned about this killing?
Well, Wolf, we have just heard from officials that they had what they describe as breakthroughs during the night. This is coming from the special agent in charge from the FBI Salt Lake field office and from local officials here in Utah. So here is what we know. They are calling the suspect he, him. They're saying that this is a male, college age, who blended in well on campus. They say that they do now have, which they didn't yesterday, they do now have a good image of that suspect. And they are right now using technology to try and identify the person from that or those images. If they fail with that technology, they say they will release these images through the media to the public. The FBI says they've had about 130 tips, Wolf, and they are asking for more. Any eyewitness accounts, any images, still or video, they want them. Now, we also got a little bit of a timeline. They say that they have now tracked the suspect's movements on campus. He arrived on campus 11:52, as I said, blended in with the college crowd is what they say this person looks like. Went up a stairwell, onto the roof, after the incident, jumped off the building. Unclear how that happened, but jumped off the building and then fled off campus through a residential neighborhood. So during the night, investigators were speaking to people in that neighborhood, looking for eyewitness accounts, looking for video from doorbell cameras, etc. They also, in a wooded area, have recovered what they believe is the weapon that was used to kill Charlie Kirk. They describe it as a high-powered bolt-action rifle, and right now they say they are working on trying to trace the ownership of that weapon. Now, they say that the suspect is not still in that wooded area. They have swept and secured that area, but they say they do not know how far he has gone. And of course, with every hour, that is more time for this suspect to get further, possibly away from the scene of the crime. Now, they do stress, though, that they do not believe that the public here is in danger. They say that this was a targeted incident, so they are not concerned right now for the safety of the public. They say that they also have a foot imprint and the imprint left by a palm and a forearm. That is what they're working with. The FBI say they are determined to find this suspect and also find out why he did it. Now, there are still some unanswered questions. Was there a vehicle involved? Was the rifle on campus already, or was the suspect blending in with a long gun? Unclear how that would happen. We also heard that Charlie Kirk's body will be taken home to Arizona today. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much. I want to go to Evan Perez now, who has some new reporting.
Well, yeah, so Nick was just describing some of the scene there and what was recovered by investigators. And we have a couple of bits of more information about what they found. Now, Nick described that they found the bolt-action rifle near that building, not far from that building. It appears, investigators believe, that the suspect ran away from the scene, threw the rifle down. It was there was a towel there. And they also found a screwdriver, which they believe indicates that perhaps the suspect used it to disassemble, take the stock off the rifle to try to conceal it. Right? That is a very common thing. We've seen this done in other instances. For instance, the shooter in Butler, the one who shot at President Trump, tried to assassinate President Trump. It's very common, and so it is possible that this person used that to try to disassemble and then put it together when he was on the roof. Again, this is a working theory of the investigators. They also found the ammunition. They found the firearm. They found some ammunition inside the rifle and also nearby, which had some writings and made various references to cultural issues, right? And we don't know what they mean. The investigators don't know what they mean. They found some initials written on some of the ammunition, some of the parts of the rifle. And again, they don't know whether this is a motive, whether this refers to the reason why this was done. But again, they spent the night looking at those initials, trying to match it to other pieces of evidence, social media accounts online, to try to see if they can try to decipher whether this is the person who did this or whether this was a reference to something else. Again, there's a lot of evidence that they're still going through at this point, but certainly the biggest piece is the rifle. They have the images, the very rough images that they found, obviously from some of the video. They are begging, obviously, for the public to send images because that is one of the ways they're going to be able to refine and figure out who might have done this, right? They're obviously the Ring videos and doorbell cameras are ubiquitous. So whatever movements he made, they are canvassing that entire neighborhood to try to track where he might have gone from there, and also how he got there, right? So all of these things investigators are still working on. The big part of this, I think, that's important for us to understand is that, we don't know yet what the gunman, what their motivation was, right? This was a political event. We can surmise that it was related to that, but we don't know yet because the person's not been arrested. We don't know what any of these markings, what these writings mean at this stage. Investigators are simply grasping at all of this to try to understand what happened and to try to bring this person to justice.
All right, Evan Perez, still a lot to learn. That manhunt continues at this hour. And Nick Watt, thank you as well.